Welcome to the Explainer. If you've tried to price out PC parts lately, your wallet probably already knows something is deeply wrong. Today, we're investigating a massive, seemingly permanent spike in the cost of memory. We are looking at a fundamental shift in the global supply chain, and it's completely rewriting the rules of building a system. To put this into perspective, let's jump back just a year ago to 2025. You could easily grab a solid, standard 32GB DDR5 memory kit for, what, 80 to 120 bucks? It was literally an afterthought, the absolute easiest, most affordable part of putting together a rig. But man, the market has completely flipped. As of early June 2026, the absolute cheapest, bare minimum, in-stock 32GB kit we can find on trackers is nearly $375. And those 64GB kits that used to sit around 150 bucks, yeah, those are now routinely listing at $600 or more. It's wild. So, saying the price doubled is honestly just being polite. Across the board, consumer DRAM is currently running 3 to 6 times its previous lows. In just the first quarter of 2026 alone, memory prices jumped an astonishing 90%. According to HP, memory went from making up about 15% of a PC's build cost to a whopping 35%. So you gotta wonder, why did the cheapest PC part just become the single most expensive item in a lot of builds? You might be thinking, oh, this is just the standard memory cycle, it'll crash again soon. Well, unfortunately, that old boom and bust pattern isn't coming to the rescue this time. This isn't a temporary supply hiccup. It's a permanent reallocation of chip-making capacity. Okay, let's dive into exactly what's happening. The entire crisis really boils down to 3 letters: HBM, or high bandwidth memory. This is a highly specialized, stacked form of DRAM that sits right next to AI accelerators. Think of those massive NVIDIA GPUs powering the current AI boom. Basically, the factories that used to make your RAM have realized they can make something else instead. And the reason for this switch, it comes down to brutal fabrication plant economics. If a manufacturer produces a standard amount of DDR5, they fetch maybe 5 to 10 bucks. But if they use that exact same silicon to produce a single HBM module, it sells for $60 to $100. When you can earn 3 to 5 times the revenue from the exact same raw materials, well, the business choice pretty much makes itself. Because of those massive profit margins, HBM is rapidly crowding out consumer RAM. Right now, it's eating up 23% of the world's total DRAM wafer output. That's up from 19% just a year earlier. AI is literally on track to absorb about a fifth of all global DRAM capacity in 2026. But here's the kicker. It actually gets worse because of the harsh physics involved. Stacking 8 to 12 dies and linking them together is wildly inefficient. Making 1 bit of HBM consumes roughly 3 to 4 times the wafer area of making 1 bit of standard DDR5. So every time a manufacturer shifts 1 wafer to HBM, it effectively deletes 3 or 4 wafers of consumer DRAM from existence. Poof, gone. Which brings us to the jammed release valve and why the old timeline for hardware prices just completely broke. Historically, you know how it goes. High prices lure in more factory capacity, creating a glut that crashes prices back down. But that release valve, it's jammed. Supply growth is totally sluggish, right as AI demand is exploding. On top of that, building new clean rooms takes years. And honestly, manufacturers are perfectly happy to manage this scarcity to preserve their record margins. Now, the demand side has totally changed the game too. Hyperscalers, those massive tech giants, are throwing down open-ended orders and billions in upfront deposits. Just look at Micron. They've locked roughly 20% of their DRAM into multi-year take-or-pay contracts running all the way through 2030. They have absolutely zero incentive to compete on price because the supply is already spoken for. And it's important to impartially look at the major players here. 3 firms, Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron, control 95% of global DRAM. Back in the 2000s, these same 3 firms pleaded guilty to price fixing. Now, while there's no antitrust case today, and the AI wafer reallocation is a completely genuine documented reality, it is a structural fact that this market is highly concentrated. As one analysis notes, whether these prices are pure scarcity or also a comfortable, disciplined restraint by these 3 giants is a question absolutely worth holding open. So, who are the casualties of this squeeze? Let's take a look at the real-world impact on builders and brands. The contagion across the tech industry is painfully clear right now. Because suppliers are prioritizing the large hyperscalers, smaller entities are getting sent straight to the back of the line. Micron outright retired its consumer-facing Crucial brand just to focus on enterprise AI. Framework had to raise their laptop DDR5 upgrade prices by 50%. Even Apple, a company with massive long-term contracts, announced across-the-board price hikes on Macs and iPads, which actually caused their stock to drop 6%. Valve even had to delay its second Steam machine over this. We're seeing a structural reality where cloud giants get their chips and everyone else pays the price. Looking ahead, there are two massive wildcards we need to talk about, and they point in completely opposite directions. On one hand, things could get much, much worse. OpenAI's massive Stargate infrastructure project could reportedly consume up to 40% of global DRAM output all on its own. If that happens, today's terrifying prices, yeah, they're just the floor. But on the flip side, there is some actionable hope. Google just announced a software compression technique that cuts local AI memory usage by 6 times. If software gets significantly better at needing less memory, the intense pressure on fabs could finally soften. So, how do we navigate this squeeze? Let's talk about what all this actually means for you and your next build.
The conventional wisdom of waiting for tech to get cheaper has officially flipped. Forecasts show no meaningful relief until 2028 at the absolute earliest. If you need a working machine today, you really just need to buy what you genuinely need right now, because next quarter will probably be more expensive. However, overbuying, like grabbing 128 gigs just to be safe, is a massive trap. Panic buying just locks today's absolutely worst prices into hardware that's going to eventually age out anyway. The overarching narrative here is pretty profound. As the source material beautifully puts it, the memory squeeze is the quiet tax on the entire AI era. And it doesn't matter if you're building a home server, migrating to DDR5, upgrading a laptop, or just staring at a higher cloud bill. You are financially subsidizing this massive shift in silicon economics toward artificial intelligence. At the end of the day, you just can't outweight the FOB math. The entire computing landscape has fundamentally shifted under our feet to feed the AI machine, and it leaves us with one final, unavoidable reality to consider for every single tech purchase we make moving forward. Are you ready to pay the quiet tax of the AI era?